Welcome back to the Unleashed Advisors podcast. I am Craig Nash with the Unleashed Advisors team brokered by eXp Realty. And today I'm here with my beautiful wife, Annie Nash, also with the Unleashed Advisors team. And we are going to answer one of the age-old questions we get all the time is, when is a good time to buy or sell a house? Annie, welcome, and
Thanks.
Let's just kick it right off.
All right. Thank you. So let's kick things off with summer. Summer is my favorite time of the year. It's warm. It's also considered the real estate hot market. You've got long days. You've got lots of sun and nice weather. People are more active and out and about. So let's talk a little bit about pros and cons of whether you're going to buy or you're going to sell. So what are some pros maybe of buying a home in the summer months?
Well, the first pro for me is it's easy to look at houses in nice weather.
Yeah.
So it's always a pleasant experience when you go out and the days are nice and you're not having to deal with weather issues. You can actually look at the house and take your time and really see what is available in the house. Mm-hmm. What else would you say that there is?
So during the summer, it's the hot market, right? So we've got a lot of inventory. Usually people are moving, kids are out of school. So families typically move during that time frame. So you've got a lot more inventory to look at if you're a buyer. I think maybe a con to that though is because there's more activity and more people out buying, you may have to move quicker.
A little more competition.
Yeah, you've got more competition. So it's kind of a double-edged right there, right? So you've got a lot to look at, but you've got to move quickly. One of our agents once said, if you sleep on it, if you sleep on it, you may not sleep in it. And summer months are definitely the time that occurs.
That is for sure. So.
How about another pro maybe of buying in the summer months that you can think of?
I have no idea right
So another pro that I could think of buying in the summer months is, you mentioned the nice weather. Well, in the summer, generally we've got the longest days. And even if you work during the day and the only time that you can look for houses is in the evening, in the summer, you can do that a lot of times until almost 9 o'clock, and you can get a view of the outside of the home, the inside of the home. So you can see all of it in the daylight, whereas looking at a house at other times of year.
Little time.
So that's definitely a pro for me. Are there any cons that you can think of in the summer?
Well, one of the cons I really can think about is that you do have more houses on the market, so there's more choices for the buyer. Mm-hmm. So you're up against some competition, so you really have to price your house in a good way to draw attention to it, and you have to market it in a good way to draw attention to it. So you can't just put a house on the market and sell. You literally have to get people to look at it.
Right. That's definitely could be a challenge for sellers. Mm-hmm. So now that we're talking about sellers during the summer, is there anything else that you might suggest to a seller to do differently because it's summer months and they have more people in and out? Would they do something different to get that attention?
Not really. I mean, we're going to market the house accordingly. I mean, it's going to be marketed to, draw people in. The one thing I would say is make sure that you're open to showings a little more later in the day.
Yeah.
Because people, are in that situation where people work all day and they want to look at a house during daylight, 5:30, 6, 7 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock at night. As a seller, that may be an inconvenience for you, but you need to be open to that, just to get as many eyes on your house as possible.
Yeah. So let me add one more pro, I think, for selling in the summer months. That's the time when your yard looks the nicest. You've got leaves on the trees. You've got the grass and the flowers and everything. Your landscape usually really looks nice. And so you can take really nice exterior photos and really show off the...
Yeah, your curbside appeal is very much better in the summer than it is in winter months, for sure. So.
Right. So that's definitely a pro for selling in the summer months.
Yes.
So let's move over to winter.
Okay.
Winter is traditionally the cooler months of the year, weather-wise, but it's also considered a cooler time of year for the real estate market. Let's start with, what are the pros of selling your home in the winter months?
Well, selling your home in the winter months, I don't think you have as much competition on the market for your house. So you're going to get, most of the buyers looking at your house if it's in the right price range for, if they're in that price range. Just because there's not usually a lot of listings on the market at the time. So your house is going to see more than it normally would.
Since we're talking about fewer listings in the winter months, let's dive in a little bit about why. Why do you think there are fewer listings in the winter months?
Well, you have the holidays for one, and people don't like moving towards the holidays. School's in full force, so you don't have the families moving so much. Those are two big reasons. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that, people just start to slow down because of those holidays and they don't want to do things. So
yeah, they kind of focus more on the
family aspect of everything. So that's the biggest reason why there's lower inventory.
What might be a reason that somebody would really want to be selling their home in the winter months? A motivation, maybe?
Well, the motivation I can think of off the top of my head is usually that's when corporations move people.
Right.
So they usually move them at the end, they want them in the new position somewhere at the beginning of the year. So most of the listings are like a corporate transfer of some kind, and they need to sell their house so they can go to their new location. So,
yeah, typically it's a relocation.
Yeah.
So there's a different motivation for the sellers and the buyers in the winter months.
Very much so.
Let's talk about a pro for a buyer in the winter months.
So the one we just kind of talked about this is that if you have somebody that's needing to sell a house to move to a new location, they are probably a little more motivated to sell their house. So they might be a little more motivated to negotiate on price and even the terms of the contract. So that's an advantage for buyers immediately right off the bat.
Right.
So
I think an advantage for sellers on that same thread is buyers are more motivated because when they're out and they're looking, typically it's because of, like we just mentioned, they're either relocating or there's a real driving factor, not just we want to move across town or especially if it's a family. They may decide that they want to move at that time so that after Christmas break or after the winter break, kids start school at a new school at the semester break. But typically it's because of a relocation of some sort. Right. So they're motivated when they're out there looking.
Yeah. Another advantage for a buyer is that there is less competition in the marketplace versus like summer months when everybody's moving.
Yeah.
So they have more an advantage of what they can choose from, and they're going to have more of an advantage of, just the price negotiation because, people are motivated at this point. So houses might be sitting a little longer during the winter months. Mm-hmm. So a seller usually gets a little more motivated to negotiate a little bit.
Right.
So is there any other pros or cons of winter months?
No, I think any time of the year is really a great time because it's time for you as a buyer or a seller. You're moving on to a new adventure. And really there are outweighing factors for either season that make it a good time to buy or sell your home.
So the most important thing to me is that you should know your market conditions of when you are buying or selling, and understanding those market conditions and market your home accordingly to those conditions. Mm-hmm. And if you're if you're on the buyer side, you need to understand those conditions where you can be a better negotiator or understand the urgency that might be taking place to buy a home. So those things are very important.
That's where working with a professional is important because that's what we do every day. We know, and we study the market to know what are things doing to help guide our clients.
Right.
Right.
Well, thank you, Annie, for joining me today in this podcast. And as always, this is Craig Nash with Unleashed Advisors, brokered by eXp Realty. And if you would like to connect with us, we'd love to hear from you. And look out, world, we are unleashed.